Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Ma'ashima Kakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of GMS, including the elders that came before that taught us his truth, and the elder bishops, Salakia. Salakia. Shalom and salutations to all the brothers out pushing the word of truth and in sincerity. The hopeful elect tabernacle of David, all right? I'm the brother Yahshua. I'm back with the WW3 Daily Update. Shalom and salutation to you. And Salakia, excuse me. I got this little thing coming on, so I need to take some supplements. So anyway, I came across this new channel. It's not new, but it's pretty damn good, so I'm going to point you to it. We'll watch a little bit of it. We'll come back. So real quick, let me get World War III out of the Apocrypha. 2nd Ezra 13 and 30, what is it? Let's just start at 33 and end. And when all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they have one against another. The battle that every man in their own land, their own nation, the battle that they have one against another is called World War III. Okay? That's what 2nd Ezra 13 and 33 is talking about. Okay? This is World War III in the Bible. And it's in a lot of places, but this is one. All right, so with that being said, let's look at the Duran. All right, so the Duran, this is live right now, taking on the deep state candidate with Diane Sayre, however they say that. And this is a really good channel for information on geopolitics, we'll just say that. So let's just jump in. I'm going to let it play, see what they say, and then come back out.
You'll see the significance of this, that LaRouche wrote 4 days after 9/11, and it was called Shoot the Neighbor's Cat. And he said, the news media has put everyone in this frenzy of the guy who comes home and discovers his house has been robbed, so he pulls out a shotgun and obliterates the neighbor's cat. And his wife says, honey, that's just the neighbor's cat. And he says, get out of my way or I'll kill you too. And then what does he say? He said, look, everybody knows that what happened on that day, the number of planes hijacked, the lack of security at the Pentagon, the lack of any scrambling of jets to do something about the hijackings, no foreign country could have pulled off 9/11 without a rogue element from within the United States. And that if the United States insisted on running all over the planet, blowing up other people for this, and not addressing the enemy within and rooting out that treasonous faction, that we would be in deep trouble because that faction would do worse later on. And you know now, people like Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, whistleblowers from the NSA, have described that, I guess Kirk said that it was Tom Drake who reported later that people at the NSA gathered and went to Michael Hayden and said, look, there's going to be a major terror attack. And they were told to say nothing about it. And now imagine having that, one, on your conscience, how horrible. But two, so what does that tell us? And we know from where Ed Snowden is and where Julian Assange is, clearly there seems to be an awful lot to cover up in this regard. But as soon as you allow yourself to be diverted and run off chasing people who are poorer than you and obliterating their nations and creating millions of refugees and refusing to face what's going on inside the United States, then you also, again, can expect the same fate to happen here.
Yeah. And of course, this also relates very much into the economic crisis, because I think it is a crisis. It's deeper in Europe than I think it is in the United States. But I think that's only the first, we're only at the first stage, Because again, I mean, we both can remember the 60s. And to me, there is again a tremendous echo from the 60s. Because if you remember the 60s, we had the war in Vietnam, we had runaway military spending, we had all the repressions that you mentioned, the assassinations, all of those things. And of course, what eventually happened is that this all fed into a major inflation crisis because spending got out of control. US industries became diverted from production of civilian goods. That created a deficit crisis that in turn undermined the position of the dollar. That cascaded into the eventual collapse of the Bretton Woods system. People don't make these connections, but all I'm saying, by the way, is now conventional, established, accepted economic understanding amongst economics of what economists of what happened. And of course, we had an inflation crisis which burned its way through the 1970s and persisted into the 1980s with all sorts of unpredictable consequences, and which, to a great extent, also undermined things like the labour movements in Britain, the United States, elsewhere. And it seems to me that we're going through exactly the same pattern. Now we're seeing, again, runaway military spending starting, cranking up all over again. I mean, it's never really been brought under control, but it's growing even more. We have policies, economic policies, from the administration, which are demagogically expressed as being, pro people, help people with student loans and things like that. But actually, if you actually analyze them, break them down, they affect negatively the lives of people. And you see inflation taking off globally, because everything like that, which starts in the United States, very quickly becomes global. So these policies impact directly on lives of people over and beyond the disasters that the war causes. And it always puzzles me that progressive Democrats, again, who once in the 60s understood that and critiqued it, you don't hear a peep from them about this today.
Yes, well, I think there's two factors, and one, I actually think the results of printing money have been known for some time. So in a way, this has been predictable and perhaps intended. One of the things that's really thrown people off, and I'm happy there's a growing number of young people who are seeing through it, is the so-called green ideology, where we're supposed to believe that human progress, fossil fuels, and whatever, we're just destroying the planet and it's all going to end in 18 months or so. Uh, without so there's a hysteria about real economic development, building infrastructure, building power plants that needs to occur. I mean, is it better to have a massively cleaned up coal fired power plant than to be burning charcoal, which is what people in Haiti are doing, or people in Africa burning dung and wood? And, so if people subscribe to this collapsing idea of energy consumption and consumption overall, you necessarily are kind of on a trajectory where people are going to die, as opposed to thinking, and this, I think, again, from Kennedy, maybe was the last time people believed it, why don't we get everyone out of poverty? This was what Xi Jinping said: the whole world should be out of poverty by 2050, China out of extreme poverty by 2020. Now people say, oh, no, you can't do that because, the spotted gadfly might die or whatever. And there's a way of being sensible. It's possible to manage and improve nature. We don't have to spill toxic chemicals everywhere and things like that, and improve the standard of living of people. But this has been rejected. And it occurred to me as I was speaking, part of the thing of the 60s, this mentality of being a consumer. That's a real sucker punch, right? You tell people, no, it's a post-industrial economy. We don't need to produce. Why don't you just consume? And I always have this image of some person like lying on their bed, never going out of the house, ordering something online, and miraculously Amazon drops it off at their door. And they're just waiting for people to give things to them, do things for them, never once thinking about what they are giving to mankind. So they tell everyone to become a consumer, and then they say, "Oop, sorry, you're consuming too much. We're going to cut it off."
All right, good enough. So, yeah, very good channel. Diverse topics, but mainly geopolitical. So check that out. A little different today, usually, and they usually have a little panel so you get different perspectives of sorts. But she mentioned something about uh, people dying. Well, that's where we're at. All right, that's where we're at in the world today. All right, because there's a time for everything. All right, Ecclesiastes 3. Let's get that real quick. You got to understand what season we're in, and nobody can stop it. All right, there's nothing that man can do to stop what the Most High, his plan is. To everything there is a season. All right, Ecclesiastes 3 and 1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. All right, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill, all right, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up. So what time do you think we're in? We're in a time to die, right? A time to kill, a time to weep. Not a time. We're not in the time of laughing. We're in the time of mourning. Okay? Jump down to 8. A time to love and a time to hate. Guess what? Which one are we in? Are we in a time of war or are we in a time of peace? Be truthful. All right? That's what time we're in. You get this. Let me see. Slovakia. Let me look this up on the phone real quick. I think this is Second Ezra 16. Let me just try it real quick. Bear with me. See if I can pull it out. Let's see. Here we are. Woe is me. This is 2nd Ezra 16 and 17. Woe is me, woe is me. Who will deliver me in those days? We're in the days of Jacob's trouble right now. The beginning of sorrows and great mournings. The beginning of famine and great death. Great death. What is World War III going to bring? Great death. The beginning of wars and great death. The beginning of famine and great death. And the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, bad times. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. All right? So that's the time we're in. What time? What's coming quickly? It's Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. World War III is coming quick. World War III is coming soon. World War III is coming quickly. World War III is soon to come. It's coming shortly. Okay? Comes at once. Wake up. And the third one, okay, let's read this all the way. The second horrible thing has now happened. That horrible thing was World War II. Ask Russia about World War II. They lost a lot. There was great death. And the third one will be here soon. Okay? Doth come quickly. All right, so with that, we hope that the elect are edified. Just wanted to show you the Duran, get a little perspective. Go there, watch some videos, and get the backstory as to what's going on. She went all the way back to 9/11, you know, and said they went after the wrong people. What'd you think? What'd you think was going to happen now? Now you got Al-Qaeda being hired on both sides to fight in World War III. Who'd have thunk? All right, so with that, we hope that the elect are edified, you brothers and few sisters. With that, we'll get to shalom.